"You're going to jail for this," that's what Karen screamed from across the street, her voice sharp enough to cut through the calm Sunday morning air. She was furiously punching numbers into her phone, eyes locked on my brand new garden shed like it was some illegal bunker I had just constructed overnight. At first I laughed a little, thinking she must be joking. Because who in their right mind calls the police over a shed? But the way she stood there, one hand on her hip and the other holding her phone like it was a weapon of justice, made it very clear she wasn't kidding. She was serious, dead serious. Neighbors peeked through their windows as Karen shouted into her phone, pointing directly at my yard like she was reporting a major crime scene. All this drama over a simple wooden shed I had spent 2 weekends building with my own 2 hands. What made the whole situation so ridiculously ironic was the fact that the police she was calling, I literally helped design and build their station. That's right. I work in engineering and construction, and just last year, I was part of the project team that oversaw the construction of the city's newest police headquarters, from the concrete foundation to the final HVAC systems. The same officers she was demanding to show up? I probably had coffee with a few of them during site meetings. And here was Karen, completely unaware of all that, trying to get me arrested over a structure that wasn't even violating a single code. It was like watching someone yell at a baker for baking bread, totally unaware that he also built the bakery. I knew right then this situation was going to get awkward, fast. But I also knew something else. She had no idea who she was dealing with. About 20 minutes after Karen's dramatic 911 call, a police cruiser slowly rolled up in front of my driveway. I looked across the street and sure enough, there was Karen standing on her lawn with her arms folded tightly, wearing a smirk so proud you'd think she just cracked a high-profile case. She really believed this was the moment she'd catch me in some massive violation, like my little garden shed was a secret villain hideout. The officer stepped out of the car, calm and professional, clearly used to calls like this. I greeted him with a polite smile and said, "Afternoon, officer. Let me guess. This is about the shed?" He chuckled lightly, almost amused. "Yep," he replied, glancing at his notes. "Got a call about some unauthorized construction causing neighborhood disruption." I nodded and calmly pulled out a folder I had put together just in case something like this ever happened. Inside was everything. My building permit, city zoning approval, structural clearance, even a letter from the local inspector that said my setup was not only legal but well executed. He looked over the documents carefully, nodding as he flipped through the pages. "You're more prepared than most licensed contractors I've dealt with," he said with a small grin. That's when I added casually but clearly, "Well, I have a little experience. I helped build your department's new station last year. City Project 742. I was on the engineering team. Concrete work, HVAC planning, even site inspections." The officer paused, looking at me with genuine surprise. "Wait, that was you?" "No way," he said, now clearly recognizing me. That's when Karen's grin across the street suddenly faded. She saw the shift in the officer's tone and started walking over, probably sensing that things weren't going the way she hoped. Her confidence, once sky-high, now seemed to wobble with every step. She was about to find out that the man she tried to get arrested over a shed was the same man who helped build the very station she called for backup. Before Karen could even start her dramatic monologue, the officer turned to her and said in a calm but firm voice, "Ma'am, this shed is fully legal. He has every document in order." It was like popping a balloon with a pin. The smug look on her face instantly vanished, replaced by confusion and disbelief. She stammered for a second and then blurted out, But it's ruining the neighborhood. Look at it. It's too green." That was her grand argument. Not illegal, not unsafe, just too green. The officer, trying hard to stay professional, kept a straight face, but I caught the slight twitch at the corner of his mouth like he was holding back a laugh. "That's not a violation, ma'am," he said flatly, shutting down her argument in one sentence. At that point, I couldn't resist adding a little salt to the wound. I smiled and said, "Actually, I can repaint it next weekend. Want me to match the color of the police station? I know the code." I said it with the most innocent tone I could manage, but the look on Karen's face was priceless. Her cheeks flushed from red to crimson, not just from rage, but pure embarrassment. She glanced between me and the officer, connecting the dots too late that she had just tried to weaponize the law against a guy who literally helped design and construct the building the officer worked in. The irony was delicious. The officer gave me a friendly nod, shook my hand with a grin that said he was more than a little amused by the whole ordeal, and returned to his cruiser. Karen didn't move. She stood there on the sidewalk like her entire world had just been flipped upside down. Her power play had not only failed but had backfired in the most public way possible. The neighbors peeked from their windows, likely watching the drama unfold, and she knew it. Her imaginary throne as the queen of the HOA crumbled right there on the pavement, while the man she wanted arrested walked back into his green shed without a care in the world. After that unforgettable incident with Karen and the police officer, an unexpected calm settled over our street like someone had hit the mute button on neighborhood drama. Karen, once the self-appointed queen of the block with her clipboard and judgmental stare, suddenly became invisible. No more pop-up inspections disguised as walks, no more side-eye glares or thinly veiled threats about property values. She started avoiding eye contact completely, especially when checking her mail. It was as if losing that showdown had deflated her entire sense of authority. Meanwhile, my humble green shed remained untouched, standing proudly in the backyard like a little monument to common sense. To my surprise, neighbors began dropping by, not to complain, but to compliment the shed. Some admired the design, others liked the color, and a few even asked if I could help them build something similar. It became a small but joyful weekend project, me helping folks design their own backyard spaces free from HOA nonsense. What began as a petty feud quietly transformed into a community bonding moment. The shed, once the target of drama, became a symbol of resilience and rebellion in the most peaceful way possible. Even the officer from that day returned the next week, not to inspect, but just to say hello and thank me for the laugh we shared. We stood by the shed drinking coffee while he asked about insulation suppliers, and we both chuckled about the absurdity of Karen's meltdown. Of course, Karen never offered an apology. That would have required more humility than she could ever muster. But something interesting happened a couple of weeks later. Her backyard fence got a fresh coat of paint, and it wasn't just any paint. It was nearly the exact same shade of green as my shed. The message wasn't loud, but it was clear enough. That was her version of a truce. A silent acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, the shed wasn't so offensive after all. Life slowly returned to normal, with one big difference. Peace had replaced pettiness, and the block was better for it. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Unfair Stories. Because here we tell the stories the world wants to hide.